Let's go ahead and discuss distance and midpoint today. These are two special formulas that we do use when we are dealing with linear functions. The distance formula is given here for you in the notebook. Distance d between 2 points is given by this formula. Now what we will do is find the distance. First, I'm going to label my ordered pairs x1, y1, and x2, y2. Then I'm going to substitute in the values that I'm given. So in my problem, I will have 1 subtract -4 squared plus -3 subtract 9 squared. Let me double check that. So it's x2, then x1, y2, then y1. Be very careful when you substitute these in. Now any of these double negatives become a positive, so that will equal to 1 plus 4 squared plus -3 minus 9 squared, which is 5 squared and -12 squared, which is 25 plus 144, which is the square root of 169. Now we want to simplify this if possible. The square root of 169 is a perfect square, so that would be 13. This would be simplified. You can use your calculator to simplify, and sometimes you may get a decimal number. Let me just review for you what will happen if you have a number that is not a perfect square. Let's say you're working one of these distance problems and you get the square root of 50 as the answer. Now when you put that in your calculator, let's see here, square root of 50 gives me 7.01068, and it continues on. Well, that is the decimal answer. Sometimes you may be asked for that, but a lot of times you're going to be asked for the radical or the exact answer. So if you recall, to simplify a number that's not a perfect square, you divide it up into a perfect square and another number. You see, 50 is the same thing as 25 times 2, and 25 is a perfect square, so we can say that is 5 square root of 2. So just remember, if you have a distance that's not a perfect square, that's how you'll handle it. Now we'll move on to midpoint. The midpoint formula uses these ordered pairs as well, labeled like we've been doing, and here is the midpoint formula. Now the order, the x1, x2, doesn't really matter. You could put x2 first here. In all of the other formulas it did matter, but in this one it doesn't because you're adding. So that's the only reason we can swap the y2, the y1, the x2, the x1 around. So either version of that formula is correct. Now let me label my points, x1, y1, x2, y2. I'm going to substitute that in. That would actually be 1 plus 7 over 2 and 2 plus -3 over 2. You're always dividing by 2. That's going to be 8 over 2 and -1 over 2, which will simplify as 4, -1/2. That is the midpoint between those two given points.